So you're considering a fishing kayak and you quickly realize these things can be serious investments and you're trying to figure out, is it worth it? Well, you're in the right place. Daren Wendell here with Wendell Fishing. Got over 1,500 videos on the subject, and I'll be completely honest with you, kayak fishing is not for everyone. Why would a guy who loves kayak fishing, has a podcast on it, do a video like this? And the answer is, I don't work for the kayak fishing industry. I work for you. And so hopefully this is helpful for you. Decide whether or not you should get in one or not. Let's hop in with number one. You should probably think twice if you really don't like wind and weather. Let me explain. I would venture to say the majority of you are coming from the bank, and you probably don't think a whole lot about wind and weather because it's fairly easy for you to pack it up, hop in your car, and you'd be good to go. But when it comes to kayak fishing, wind is nature's way of saying, hey, you might want to try another sport. Wind is one of those things that could ruin a day for a kayak angler, and a lot of times what it ends up making you do is fishing in sheltered areas that you otherwise wouldn't be fishing, but you have to because it's so windy. And wind provides just a whole mess of problems out on the water, right? Strong winds can make it difficult to balance. There's a capsizing risk, so that's something to take in consideration. It's going to make it really difficult to maneuver with the wind. It's going to be pushing you from your spot, from your fishing position, and I'll be completely honest with you, sometimes that can get annoying. And if you're fighting the wind for an extended period of time, you're going to have that increased fatigue, and a lot of times when you have all these things kind of combine at once, that's when accidents happen. I think one of the most irritating things for me is just that constant positioning, right? You finally get into that spot, you make that cast, you want to continue making casts in that particular area, and then the wind kind of blows your kayak or flips you to the side, and to be honest with you, it's just kind of annoying. And obviously you're slower to boat, right? So if that unexpected storm does whip up, even though you should be watching the weather, sometimes it happens. You can't just throttle down and whip 50 to 60 mile per hour back to the boat launch. It's going to take you a minute. But on the flip side, it's not a deal breaker, right? Because there's anchors, you can have anchor trolleys that you can install to the side of your kayak. Some of the more advanced options, you can get a power pole, the flick of the switch, pole can go down behind you. Those are a little bit pricey though. They can run like $500–600. A cheaper option could be a stakeout pole. Just kind of stake that down in. You can just get a really cheap anchor. I think I made one myself, pretty inexpensive. They actually have GPS enabled trolling motor, so you can literally just be like, hey, I want to stay right here, and that trolling motor is just going to keep you in that spot. Those are pretty rad, however, also pretty pricey. Now, myself, I love fishing in the rain. I love fishing in the wind. I think the bite gets really hot, and the wind doesn't bother me personally, right? I've learned to use it to my advantage while out on the water. I can paddle if I want. I have a pedal drive in my Bonafide P127, and I also have an NK180 Newport Vessels motor, so I can get to where I want. So wind really isn't an issue for me, but I had to do some heavy investment to get there. However, if you're getting in kind of an entry-level fishing kayak and you're going to be paddling, this might be something you want to think about, or you just kind of be one of those fair weather fishermen. No problem, folks. You be you. All right, you might want to think twice. Number two, loading and unloading. So whether you're car topping in your kayak, you're putting it in the back of your truck bed, or you have a trailer to pull this thing around, getting that kayak to and from the water can be intensive. Some fishing kayaks, they weigh, 50 pounds, like these little throw and goes. Others, if you really have them fully rigged, like mine, you got batteries, you got trolling motors, these things can weigh over 200 pounds. And younger anglers might shrug this off, yeah, no problem at all, and you can kind of manhandle those things to and from the water. Now, if you have back issues or you had some type of injury, you might want to think twice about getting into a fishing kayak, right? That real dead weight may be an issue for you, and we don't want to sideline you from fishing forever. And you might be thinking, oh, I'll just get someone at the boat ramp to help me. You can't always rely on that either. On the flip side, there are a lot of things out there that can help make this a whole lot easier for you. Now, if you're wet launching your kayak, it's not going to be a problem at all, right? You just back that thing down to the boat ramp, just like if you had a full-size boat. Now, if there's places that you can't pull in, you can also get a variety of kayak carts that can help you with this. I know that I have native sidekicks on my kayak. Really, all I do is pull it off the bed of my truck, fold these things down, slide it off the bed of my truck, roll it down to the water, into the water, and once I get back into the water, I turn around, flip those things up, and I'm good to go. So don't let loading and unloading be a complete deal breaker for you, right? Now, if you make the investment, you can get one of those nice trailers they have out there. It makes it really easy to get those in and out of the water. However, for me, I do not have the budget for that, so I actually turned my utility trailer into a kayak trailer, and I'll leave that video link in the description below. All right, think twice. Number three, I call it Yakback, right? So sitting in a kayak can be very comfortable if you have the right kayak seat, or it can be very uncomfortable depending on which kayak you buy. Now, typically what you run into is on the cheaper side of the kayaks, those seats are going to be less comfortable. As you get into the more expensive kayaks, these are going to be that lawn chair type style of seats, and they're going to be very comfortable. I know on my Bonafide P127, I could sit 6, 7, 8 hours a day with no issues at all. So if you're young and flexible, it might not be an issue for you. If you're someone who has back issues or you don't have a great equilibrium, so standing up and stretching might be problematic for you, this might be something you want to think through before getting into a fishing kayak. So let's say you can't afford the nicer fishing kayaks with the nice seats, not a problem. Look in the kayak cushion. This could be an alternative solution for you. Think twice, number 4. I remember a long time ago when I first got into kayak fishing, I used muscles that I never knew existed. The casting angles, the pedaling, the paddling. Woo! It was an interesting week after my first time out on the water. Windy conditions can amplify that work, as well as loading and unloading can feel like a intense workout. So if you're not ready for physical exertion, you're like, hey, I work 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. I don't want to continue to do the same thing on Saturday and Sunday. This might be a little bit more frustrating than fun for you. Now, got good news for you. As I shared earlier, a lot of fishing kayaks, you can put motors on, you can buy them with pedal drives. And so if exercise is not for you, there's an answer for you, you lazy bastard. Think twice, number 5. If you don't have great equilibrium, if you don't have balance, this might be a frustrating experience, right? So, I mean, I'm not just talking about being in the kayak, like getting in and out of your kayak. I've seen a lot of people take unintentional swims. No matter how experienced you are or how great a balance you have, I always tell people it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when you go overboard. And when it happens, it's going to happen fast, and boom, you're in the drink. So if your equilibrium sucks, right, and the idea of falling over your kayak and being able to get back into it terrifies you, fishing kayaks may not be right for you. However, if you know your limitations, you wear your personal flotation device, and you follow my next point, you're not going to have a problem at all. So think twice, number 6. Practicing self-recovery. Regardless of your capabilities, you're going to want to practice self-recovery, right? I mean, here in Northeast Ohio, I fish a lot of times when the water's in the 40s. And so you're going to want to understand and know how to get back into your kayak, also know how to flip over your kayak. And maybe you already know and you're self-aware, there's not a chance that I'm going to be able to get back into my fishing kayak. I just don't have the strength. I got injuries, whatever it may be. Kayak fishing may not be right for you. However, for the majority of people watching this video, you're going to be able to get back into it. I just recommend that you practice it. I don't personally have a video on that. I need to create that this upcoming summer. However, there's a lot of videos out there on YouTube, so check it out. Make sure you understand and practice it before you go out solo. All right, think twice, number 7. When I first got into a fishing kayak, and even to this day, there is some casting limitations, right? You're sitting in a fishing kayak, and if you're like most kayak anglers, what you're going to do is put the majority of your rods behind your seat into a kayak crate, and they're going to be sticking up in the air. And so you're going to have to learn, most of the time when you're coming from the bank, you're just kind of throwing it over your shoulder. If you do that, you're going to be knocking and catching, and my goodness, it creates an insane rat nest that you don't have to deal with when you're out floating on the water. So you're going to have to learn how to recast, the side roll cast, the one-handed cast, maneuvering in a limited space. If that doesn't sound like fun at all for you, well, kayak fishing might not be right for you. However, it doesn't take very long. And especially if you start getting GoPros and you start having all kinds of gear, you're really going to have to dial that in. So just want to give you a heads up, if you're going to get in kayak fishing, don't be discouraged by that, because it only takes like a week or 2 out on the water for you to dial that in. All right, think twice, number 8, limited storage. Now, if you're coming from the bank, this is going to feel like an upgrade, right? You're going to be able to carry a whole lot more than you did in your tackle bag that you throw over your shoulder. However, if you are, in my opinion, upgrading from the bass boat, you're going to have limited space. But this is why I think this is important. It makes me a better angler, because I am just not going to wing it while I'm going out in the water. So by having a limited amount of gear that I take with me, this is forcing me to pre-plan. Right? And I believe that pre-planning and understanding the lake I'm going to and doing my research prior to going to it, this is going to make me a better angler. I don't believe you're going to have as much luck as you would if you did the pre-work. However, pre-work for a lot of people sounds like what it is, work. And if it's not for you, not a problem at all. But you're going to have limited gear storage. There's a lot of options out there: under the seat, behind the seat, behind the seat backpacks. So it's not really that big of a deal, but if you're used to having everything available to you on your bass boat, well, this may be an issue for you. I think twice number 9, limited range. Now this is a comparison to a boat, right? Boats can go 50, 60 miles an hour and get from spot to spot. However, I believe there is a hidden benefit here. When you're in a fishing kayak, right? Obviously coming from the bank, now there's a whole new world open to you. But the hidden benefit is you are going to probably fish places that you never would have fished because you would just ripped up the motor and ripped to your next honey spot. When you're in a fishing kayak, you pass all kinds of things on the way to your next spot. And you're like, hey, you know what? I might as well try it out. And you kind of fish along the way. And I'll be honest with you, I've been able to elevate my fishing game because I've been fishing along the way and I'm learning and evolving the craft. Another thing twice is storage. And I'm not talking about storage on your fishing kayak. I'm talking about where are you going to store your fishing kayak. Some of the best deals that you can get out there on Facebook Marketplace is because people bought their fishing kayaks and didn't really think through where the crap they're going to store that thing. And now their car's sitting outside and their kayak's inside, right? So before you buy, you're going to want to think through the length where you're going to put that thing. I had a lot of issues here in my garage. I don't have a lot of space. I don't have a barn or anything like that. So I made this electric hoist that goes up and down, and I can fit 2 or 3 kayaks up there. I'll show you the video. I'll put that in the link below in the description. But nonetheless, think that through. You might not want to get that 12-foot kayak. You might not want to get that 14-foot kayak because you don't have space for it. So do some measurements, think that through before you make that purchase. So let's not pretend that kayak fishing is all rainbows and butterflies. It is, in my opinion, the best way to get out in the water and fish. I love being so low to the water. I love the stealth. I love where kayaks can get me where bass boats can't get to because I am so shallow in the water. I have picked up so many big bass in places I know boats can't get to. And so there is an insane amount of advantage fishing from a kayak. I love the solo fishing and the community is just freaking awesome. So if you're like, hey, I am still in, that sounds amazing to me, I welcome you to the Wendell fishing community and the kayak fishing community at large. And if this was like, hey, this is not for me, I'm glad it was helpful. And now for some more kayak fishing tips and tricks, check out this video right here, 11 kayak fishing mistakes that can take your life. Thanks for watching, guys. See you.